So now we're at the part where we discuss this. Today's was a beautiful message from our rabbi, and it would be so good to listen again because it's so filled with information, so much. Rabbi always knew how to pack his hour into information. Mauricio, do you want to expand a little bit or see what touched you about what the rabbi said?
Yes, I would like to just to make a combination with Korach. There's an idea that, okay, I'm going to try to explain this in a very easy way. First, the first generation of Israel that went out from Egypt, they have the idea that man could be a demigod, okay? Because Paro was a god,
Right.
okay? In the first commandment and second in the first commandment, it says that 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 explicit tell us that there is only one God, okay? That's it. Uh, and he is the one who deserves everything, okay? And we need to be clear about it, okay? As he mentioned, the rabbi, God put, we are all equals before him, but we have different roles, okay?
Right.
So,
For 1 second, because I've heard people from other religions agree with that and say there's only one God, but they leave out the part of the first commandment that says, I'm the God who brought you out of the land of Egypt. So that is the true God, because they'll say that their God is the true God.
yes. And the point is that probably this idea from the Israelites that went out from Egypt was very inside of their heart. Okay. Oh, God sent us. We only switch the God. God is not longer Paro. Now the God is Moshe.
Right.
Okay. And Moshe has the other guy who is a demigod, his brother Aaron, okay, and he has the power to communicate with gods, okay. And at the beginning, God wanted to have a direct relationship, but the people asked to Moses, "You'll be the mediator between God and us," okay. So, following this idea, um, the problem of idolatry for them was very difficult. And probably what God is doing right now is like the rabbi mentioned, okay? Uh, this is like God using what they believe were God. Now, what he's doing, he is showing that he rules over all those gods. Okay. In the first part, you have the real cow. Okay,
Red heifer?
the real heifer. So in this case, is the very same idea. Okay, it's like midat keneged midat. Okay, the what you believe that was God when they presented the golden calf. Okay, now the mother is going to clean them up. Okay, is that is the idea. Okay, so in also there's at the end is the very same idea with the serpent. Okay, the nahash, because what they did, they had lashon hara, the tongue, okay, the
Tongue.
divided tongue, okay, bipil tongue. In now is the very same idea that when you see
The
the
snake.
people snake, okay, is that the idea is first they put into a post so you can lift up your eyes, okay, because and then you lift up your eyes to the heaven, okay, and see what is your problem, that your snake line, your snake tongue, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
So uh and that will heal you, not the snake,
Oh,
not not really the nahash, is to lift up your eyes to God, to heaven. Why is happening this? Because in the middle, the idea with Korah is that people were looking to Moses and Aaron to solve the problems. Why? Because they thought in a certain way, oh, this guy can help me, okay? And I can see that guy before me to show my needs, okay? And he will solve the needs. And after 38 years, now the new generations had the idea of God, the creator is the one, but now Moshe takes his name in vain, okay? So he was at the top, okay? Moses was the top of the top, okay? And now he made a mistake, okay? Why? Because probably his temperament and his patience was enough. And can you imagine, I don't know, for 40 years, 38 years, uh, you know, dealing with the people? I, sometimes we deal with people 1 year, 2 years, and we say that's enough,
right.
okay? But at this moment, I don't know what happened to Moses, but he said enough, okay? So at that moment, what he did, shall we? And that part is very central because, as the rabbi mentioned, is that he took the name of the Lord to him. Okay,
In
okay,
vain.
we shall give you water. Okay, and why God allowed that Miriam died? Because he wanted to show that also Miriam was not a demigod, okay, that brings water, okay. She was not a aquarium or something like that. And now, uh, what all people saw when he touched twice, okay, uh, is that I Moshe and Aaron, we both, okay, we two give you the water, okay. So, and people asked uh, to to have the need of water be solved. And who solved the problem? God or Moses? So the idea again of idolatry returned at that moment. Okay. Moses is the demigod, and we need to honor him. And probably that's why the Lord, it's not about that he didn't forgive Moses. No, he didn't, he forgave gave Moses. Um, Absolutely. But uh he didn't gave the opportunity to Moses to enter to the promised land, because if not, people will consider Moses is God. Okay. And for that reason, Moses asked so many times, according to the Midrashim, 125 times he asked, okay, to God, God, please allow me to enter to the promised land. Probably Moses' desire was to, you know, to see the fruits of his work, okay? And that's a human desire. That's cool, is good.
Right.
But God is protecting Israel from idolatry. And so it's very easy. And what happened after so many years after 200 more or less years after this Nahash, people started to worship, okay, and
Right.
it had to be destroyed, okay. Um, and so uh, sometimes we don't see that because I have seen many people, okay, please, in Christianity, I talking is Christianity, okay, please ask this brother or sister to come to my house to pray for me because they have the power, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is that is not necessary. You have a direct relationship with God,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And it's not the power of the mediator.
No.
It's not the power of the leader. It's not the power of a person. Okay, no.
I mean,
Eh,
how many Jewish people today, I mean, Orthodox, run to the graves of certain rabbis, thinking that from this
yeah,
emanates the special power given to the soul. You know, even with Rabbi Schneerson, they believe that he's alive, he's come back from the dead, and that, you know,
yeah. They go to Ukraine,
exactly.
okay, to the grave, and no matter if their missiles are there, they want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, this is the problem because we are breaking the first commandment.
Yes.
Okay, probably in like innocent way, but we are breaking,
The
okay, the
first
commandment,
three commandments:
the three commandments.
making an image,
Yes,
taking his name in vain. All three. Yeah.
yes. So that is the main thing in this portion. And also regarding the Haftarah, Jephthah, okay, you know, this is something that is very hard to understand
Yeah.
because people, you know, the mother of Jephthah was a prostitute. Okay, so he was not considered pure Israelite,
Right.
but he was a very good warrior.
Yeah.
Okay, was very brave. In I know how many years he was, you know, not single from all his family and from all his people. Okay, but it says that they look at him and saw that God provide him with muscles. Okay, so they wanted to be defended and they didn't have option because the righteous and pious people were not enough brave. Okay, so they run to Jephthah and ask for them to go to the war with Ammonites. So that's the relationship with between this portion and the portion of the parasha, because both try to deal and have peace with Ammonites. Because Moses went to the Ammonites and asked them very uh, in very educated way, please let us pass.
Right.
And as well as Jephthah. Okay, so the principle is very easy. Okay, God, and this is something that people do not understand. Okay, Israel uh, have this principle inside of them, inside the mind. The first option never is to go to war. Okay, they try to have a deal with peace. Okay, because they were they wanted to pay, they wanted to say, we won't take nothing from you, but this is an spirit of anti-Semitite, I will say, that still is today
Very big.
working on many people. Okay, which is senseless. Okay, so in the south part, is that they were brothers, as Rabbi mentioned. Okay, they really were brothers in no cousins. In this is something very sad, because sometimes the main enemies we have are inside our families. Okay,
Exactly. Cain and Abel were brothers.
yeah.
Yeah.
So but we need to look first for peace. Okay,
Right.
it's the same idea of at Korah with Moses. Try to deal with Korah and with the Dathan and Abiram, and call them. They didn't want to hear, and they suffered the consequences. The very same idea today with Iran, with Palestine, with Syria, etc. And so in this principle we need to follow. Okay, don't go and sometimes hold your spirit. Okay, do not go and try to destroy someone. Okay, no,
Right.
first call him, try to get a deal. But if they don't want to listen and they are close, no way. Sometimes you need to act. Okay, because if you don't act, probably you will be destroyed. Okay, um, and then uh, Jephthah, okay, lead, and he became a judge. Okay, for at that moment. So, but this is something that really uh, like, because uh, you know sometimes the religious people, okay, um, are not enough brave to deal with the problems. So probably the ones they criticize, they go and say, defend us. Okay, and that very same idea is what is happening today at Israel. Okay, why? Because the seculars defends the religious people. The religious people don't want to go to the war. They
No.
don't want to serve to the army. Okay, and even there's a lot of religious people defending the Palestine in the Gaza peace cause. Okay, and it's very sad.
I've seen
The
them
very
here.
same idea of Jephthah time.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so
They forget.
but
They forget the Gideons who had no
yeah,
courage.
yeah.
Yeah.
At the end, they are looking for Jephthah to defend them, and forgiving and forgetting that the one who really protects Israel is God. Okay, so so that is the things I
Yeah.
wanted to add.
Why do you think Jephthah would have made such a crazy oath at the end?
Oh, because of lacking of knowledge. Okay. Because remember, he didn't grow with the family. He grew up like a bastard.
Right.
So who taught him Torah?
Right.
No one. But he had a very good desire, okay, to serve God, to protect people,
Right.
okay. He knew his role, but the problem is that he didn't know Torah, okay. And you know that also the problem is that the the uh, high priest was Pinchas. Okay, Pinchas could tell. Okay, I am very good, and people criticize for that to Pinchas. Okay,
Right.
because Pinchas at that time he could go to Jephthah and said, Jephthah, you made an oath. Okay, just present a hatah. Okay,
Right.
and before God, and ask to God to forgive you, and that oath will disappear. But he kept his mouth in silent. Okay,
I wonder why.
so in that's why they said at that moment God decided to pass the high priesthood to the lineage of not Eleazar to Itamar. That's why Eli became high priest. Okay,
Interesting.
so but at the end, the problem is okay. Yes, Jephthah, we said, oh, Jephthah made a mistake, and he made an oath. God could forgive him. Okay, but at the end, nobody criticized the high priest who could intervene and give an advice to Jephthah, okay, and said, Jephthah, don't worry, God can forgive you,
Right.
okay. He keeps silent, and sometimes religious people see that the people is making mistake because of ignorance, and they keep silent. So it's big mistake to 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 keep the mouth closed when you can do that good.
Right. Wow. There's so many lessons for us in the Torah. It's amazing. But that's why
Yeah,
at the beginning, Rabbi said we need to understand these. We need to look for the principles behind them, not the stories themselves, because the stories have a moral and they have a principle. And without that, they don't make sense for us. That's
yeah.
Did
Uh,
his daughter have to be a virgin, like couldn't marry? Was that what happened really because of his oath?
says she was burnt.
That
Huh?
is really is not clear because the book of Judges didn't specify what happened to her.
Mhm.
Okay, if we follow with the idea that they could not offer a living person
Right.
like a human sacrifice,
Right.
okay, the idea is that she went to the to not to the temple, to the tabernacle at that time,
Okay.
and
Right.
serve God, and she never get married, and you know it's like a noon, okay, more or less.
Right.
That's the idea, okay. The other idea that is open and it is not closed, that probably some idea went into some mind and already sacrificed her. But that idea doesn't make sense to me,
Right.
okay? Because it's very clear in the Torah and nobody will go against the Torah,
Right.
okay? But uh the point is, imagine you like a father, okay, you make an oath, and for that oath your daughter will never get married, never had children, never had their own purposes on life get realized. Can you imagine that? It's like you are killing her.
Right.
Okay. So not necessarily she died, okay, but
Right.
but you know, it's not clear. So in the Midrashim, they have that idea.
Right. You said something before about the red heifer that I didn't understand.
Oh yes, okay. The red heifer is like the mother of the golden calf. Okay,
Right.
so is like, okay, your son brought Israel to sin. Now your mother will take, okay.
Take the sin away.
So that is the idea.
I
This
love that idea because I always wondered like why a female, and
Yeah.
that really
Clarify.
that is a really interesting idea because the golden calf, it's like God offered another way of forgiveness. I mean, it's not forgiveness, but of kind of mending that.
Exactly. And if Moses
It's
was
like redeeming people.
Yeah, right. It's unbelievable.
Moses had disappeared and he was considered a god. That's why they said, build us a god, build us another god, the calf to bring us back to Egypt.
And
Okay.
it was probably a female calf. Who knows?
What are you talking about?
No, if when they worship the golden calf, it maybe it was a female, and the heifer is like the redemption of the. Otherwise, it could have been any sacrifice, but it's a red heifer is a female.
Yeah, but the golden calf was a male, was it not, Mauricio?
Can't
Sorry,
The
I
golden
didn't hear
calf,
clear.
the golden calf that brought them back that they built was a male calf, right?
I understand that, yes, it was a male,
Yeah, because the word is different.
but it's not really, but it's not specified you know, the sex, because it doesn't say that it was a male or female, but we understand that it's a male.
Right. Oh, I thought the word itself was a male word. We'd have to look that up. Interesting.
Oh, so now with the red heifer, you're saying it was like the mother. So that's why it was female. Okay.
Right. Huh. So the bottom line in all this is, to whom do we give the credit? When we do something that is, that brings a message or help or something to people, we always have to remember that it's God gets the credit. Yes, Moshe, what are you saying? I thought that a heifer is a female and the bullock is a male. Yes, you're right. The bullock was a male, but in this case, we're talking about the calf, the golden calf that was built. We'd have to look at the name to see. Anyway, I think Mauricio has left now.
I guess now I don't understand what the idea of the red heifer kind of being a redemption because of the sin of the golden calf. Why does it have to be a female? Or like to me, it could have been a male too. Why a female?
I don't know.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know. Mauricio's gone now, and I'm sure there could be answers to that.
Well, he says I'm the mother of that. So
Yeah, it's I guess the offset, to be the totally opposite in every way. Even one was a male, this one's a female.
maybe, yeah.
It's possible. I like the image of what he said about the snake having a forked tongue. Like I know people who speak out of two sides of their mouth. They're not they're never clear. They have opposite messages. Just everything about the Torah is so amazing because of giving it all these pictures and how important it is to step back and take a look at the pictures.
What I really found interesting, really special, is the idea that God forgave Moses and Aaron. They weren't allowed into the land, but sometimes I never even thought about that. I didn't think that they weren't or were, but as you know, terrible as the consequences of what they did were, that of course God forgave them, but for the sake of Israel, if Moses had entered the land like with they would have continued to worship him, you know, and what he had done was severe enough to say you can't enter the land. But I think God was really thinking about the consequences for Israel.
But that's always exactly, that's what we always have to remember. When we do so, you know, we call the word sin, but when we do something that go against the principles that God gave us, there will be consequences. It's not that God hates us or he hates what we do. He doesn't hate us. He loves us and he forgives us, but still because we broke the rules. If you go through a red light, you break the rules and somebody hits your car, those are the consequences. It doesn't mean, you know, he always looks at our intention. He always trying to raise us higher, to build us up, to help us grow, to help us learn how to, you know, Rabbi began with the 10 Commandments, and he talks about loving our neighbor as ourselves, taking care of ourselves, honoring our parents, and keeping the Shabbat. All these are principles by which we're to live. If we break them, there will be consequences. But it doesn't mean he doesn't forgive us, especially when we realize what we've done and we try again. You know,
I guess what I was also thinking of is the severity of the severity of the punishment or whatever, is that they could not enter the land. Like, it seems so severe, but he was thinking about how the Israelites would enter the land now with idol. You know, it was required severe action for their you know, Israelites.
and who knows, maybe it was God who nudged Moses a little bit to lose his temper, you know, because he knew that he wasn't going to be going into the land because he knows the nature of the people.
Yeah, I don't know if that's, well, anyway, I don't know if I agree with that, only that God doesn't nudge us to sin. There's God could do anything, but I don't like that picture. I disagree with, but that's okay.
That's
You know
okay.
what I mean? Of course he could
I
do
don't know.
anything.
It's just a suggestion. Who knows?
No, right, who knows? But
Yeah.
I don't think God ever nudges us to disobey, even if the consequences, I don't think you meant that, but that's the way it may sound like.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah, not that I know you don't mean that, but
Yes. Yes, Moshe. Moshe lifted his hand. No? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. A burden of people who were demanding clean for water. I remember they were in a desert.
It's
and
very
they
hard
didn't
to hear you, though. You're very low. Can you speak louder?
Can you hear me here?
That's better.
Okay. Moses had a very big number of people that he was leading. And remember, they were in a desert where there was no water. And he also had a burden that people were demanding for water. And there was no water in the desert. So he was also stressed. You know, like when someone is demanding for something which is not in position, you may end up being you will have that stress. So Moshe was also stressed a bit, and I guess that is one of the reasons as to why he just struck the stone.
That's an excellent perspective. Yes, and after 40 years of listening to all the complaining, it was enough. He lost it. Yes, thank you, Moshe. That was an excellent perspective. I know that when I'm asked to do something that I feel incapable of doing, and you know, and people are all looking at me to get it done, of course it would raise our stress level. Beautiful. Anything else from it? Yes, Brian.
I had my door's open here, and the little lady that's 100 years old came in, you know.
Yes, I heard her. She's
Yeah.
a survivor of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Yeah, she comes every Friday. She comes to, she's amazing. 100
Do
years
you
old.
know her, Peggy?
Of course I know her. That's, what's her name? All of a sudden her name is Ziva.
Opposite my room here.
Huh?
She's opposite my room here.
Yes, she's a very sweet lady. I know her. She loves to sing. She was there yesterday for Shabbat, and she went from Europe to Israel. She lived for a while in Israel. Now she lives here in Montreal. Beautiful lady. So in many ways, we're so blessed to have messages like this. I want to thank you all for joining our service today. Let's keep the rest of Shabbat in that same spirit of Shabbat, of rest, of giving honor to God. We remember the beautiful teachings of our Rabbi, and God willing, we'll be back next week. I hope you listen also to the teachings on Tuesday evening, both in Spanish and in English, because we have a wonderful time reading the Torah and seeing what God has for us. It's the only, it really is a living book. It gives us life, no matter how much we think we have failed. There's always that idea of forgiveness, and with the consequences, he gives us a way to start again. So thank you everyone again, and I want to wish you all Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Moshe. Give my love to all your family, your mother, your brothers.
For everyone. Shabbat shalom.
Thank
Shabbat Shalom.